Hello there, my name is Goulden and I'm a former police officer from Scotland, and I wanted today to talk about allyship. It's a phrase that I hear a lot of people talking about. We talk about allies, and last year and in recent years there's been movements such as the MeToo movement, Black Lives Matter movement, and there's been a lot of conversation about allies. I gave it some thought over the weekend, and I wanted just to talk about my views on what I think allyship is, who are the allies that are out there, and what are the characteristics. And I think, for me, the first thing, an ally has gone on a journey. It's had an experience. That might be an experience that has affected a friend, a family member. They might have just been sitting having a conversation when somebody talked about an incident that happened to them, or something that's happening to a particular group of people, and they just had that moment where they thought, that's wrong. I often think about being told about the civil rights movement in America, what took white people to come out of their houses and take a stand against systemic racism in the United States was the television set. People were seeing things happening in their community, and it was having an impact. So I think, for me, an ally has gone on a journey. Allies are prepared to expand the lens and to think differently, to look differently at a particular issue. And I think that's key for any ally. Sometimes they're uncomfortable to start with, but they allow them to move through that discomfort to a place of where they're angry, but they use that anger for action. I think that's key for an ally, is that they are prepared to move. A lot of people in society get to that anger stage and push back. An ally for me is someone who pushes through that anger and makes use of the space to really inform themselves about what's going on. An ally is aware of the privilege it's aware of any privilege they have, whether that be as a man, whether that be as a white individual, heterosexual individual, where privilege is present. You're aware of it, and you then start to, I think I call it making when the invisible becomes visible, and you can't unsee these particular issues, and you learn to use that privilege to talk about the issues that you want to talk about. I think allies, for me, learn to engage and call people in rather than call people out. I think it's important that allies build the team. They help build the team, and I don't think that's always possible when you're calling people out, because calling people out to me is about it's loud, it's public, it can be humiliating for people, it can create shame, and shame isn't a great social justice tool. I think Brené Brown talks about that in some of her podcasts. So for me, allies are coaches, mentors in many ways, to help other people see things that have previously been invisible to them. Allies don't identify as allies. They don't have a big t-shirt saying, "Hey, I'm an ally." That's my view. People can disagree with that. It's something that it's not a performance. It's another thing. Being an ally is not about a performance, being better than somebody else. Because remember, there was a day when things today you didn't know. I think there's in the past there's things I know today that I didn't know 4, 5, 10 years ago, and I can't impose that on other people. I need to meet them where they are at, and I think it's not a performance. It's an ever-growing role where the learning is ongoing. US philosopher Derek Darby talks about doing the knowledge every day. We should be asking questions, building our knowledge. It's what you learn after you think you know it all. That counts. Great quote from the American basketball coach John Wooden. So every day is a learning day for an ally, I suppose, in many ways. Allies are consistent, and they start over each day with the message. It doesn't reduce. They put the learning from the previous day into the new day, and they are consistent in that message. And they promote this message. That might come across for some people as they're harping on. Sometimes I've had that in the past, but I think the next thing for me, and being an ally, is a duty. And I think when you have a duty, then you will keep speaking. You will keep speaking about that particular issue. Allies are prepared to be vulnerable, to stand out from the crowd, and I think that's something we can all practice. Doing different. There's a friend of mine in America, Scott Allison's a professor in leadership and heroism and psychology, and once a year he has a class where he tells his class students to wear outrageous clothes, to stand out. We can all learn to stand out, because for me, allies are prepared to stand out from the norm that is around them. I think that's important. It's not about being perfect. I think we see people in society scared to say certain things, and I think it's not about being perfect. It's about being you as an individual and using your learning to better yourself and to better the cause that you are talking about. And for me, in the past, what's helped me build my understanding of certain issues is just people in the back of the room just nodding their heads. People who have allowed me to make mistakes, have not come back at me in a direct confrontational manner. They've learned to call me in and broadened my own knowledge about a particular issue, allowing me to talk to other people about that particular issue. So it's not about being perfect. Allies make mistakes. And I think lastly for me, being an ally is not about caping up the superhero. It's about, I heard it being described recently, it's about your posture. It's about how you present yourself. Your greatest superpower in life is your presence. And I think allies realise that. And it isn't about being right all the time. It isn't about being the font of all knowledge. It isn't about being the hero, the saviour. It's just about being consistent in your message and for the betterment of society. So that's just a few minutes discussing what I think the term allyship is about and why I think we should all consider our roles in society to support some of the major issues that we often hear about in our daily news feeds. Thank you.